What is up, fantasy footballers? Welcome to Fantasy Planet, the fantasy football podcast. I'm Alec. Jack is here.
What is up?
We got you when it comes to all things in the realm of fantasy football, giving you that astronomical advantage, as always. Of course, helping you secure that championship title. Today we got our top 30 running back rankings for fantasy. It's PPR, as always. Let's get right into it. Starting off in the S tier, no surprises here. We got CMC at 1 and Eckler at 2. With Eckler, I do have him at RB1. Jack does not. Most people do have him RB2, but the reason I have him at RB1 is just all the question marks with CMC. Like I talked about him last week, he is, in my opinion, the worst pick in round 1, especially at pick number 2. You agree?
Yeah, well, I don't know if he's the worst pick, but I do think two is too early of a pick for him. I think 3 is fine, 4 is fine. I think that's where he should go. But I also think Eckler should go after him because Eckler is heading into his 28-year-old season. 28-year-old season, is where a lot of RBs start to decline because of their age, and RBs just get worn out by then. And he's, the past few years he's had that high touchdown percentage. He's had like 20 and then 18 touchdowns past couple of years. And it's hard for a running back to keep up. I love this Chargers offense. I think they're going to be scoring a lot, but I think it's going to be a lot from passes and not Eckler running it in. Eckler gets all the receiving work too there, but I feel like with Kellen Moore in an offensive coordinator now, I think they're going to start throwing the ball deeper down the field instead of the checkdowns than what they were last year. And also, they have 2 fully healthy wide receivers now. Keenan Allen should be back and healthy, and so same thing with Mike Williams. Both of those guys missed combined 11 games last year, which obviously helped Eckler with those touchdowns. And with all that being said, I do definitely have Eckler at RB2. He's definitely in the same tier as CMC, but I just think with all these new adjustments coming in this year and guys getting more healthy there in the Chargers offense, I think there will be less touches and opportunities there for him to score points.
Well, like we said with Eckler, he is going into his age 28 season. CMC is also 27 years old right now. Eckler finished 4th or better at RB in fantasy points 3 of the past 4 years, so he's had that consistency. We haven't seen his efficiency drop off. Like, when running backs are going to drop off, you usually see a slight decline in efficiency before they do drop off completely. And also, he said touchdowns. He has had 38 touchdowns since the start of 2021. And that is 12 more than the second-place player. But like you said with Kellen Moore, you think they're going to pass the ball more? I think that's just going to help the offense overall.
Well, yeah.
Herbert stepping into another great year with this offense.
Yeah. I'm just saying, I think with him being in there, they're going to be throwing deep passes or middle passes more than just checkdowns that they were last year. Especially with
I wouldn't say they're just checkdowns to Eckler. He runs routes.
It's a lot of checkdowns, but even with routes too. Yes, he does, bro. It's all checkdowns.
It's not, dude.
Yes, it is. Oh, and then a little slant or something here and there.
How does he have 10 catches for 100 yards? That's an amazing stat line for any wide receiver. Eckler can give you that every week.
No.
Yes.
No.
It's crazy.
No. Cannot give you that every week. He will definitely be out-targeted by both Mike Williams and Keenan Allen.
And with Eckler, I don't think the Chargers are really concerned about his age or anything here, or the decline yet, because we didn't see them add any significant RB2 in this offense. Like we saw with the Titans, Derrick Henry, they add Tajay Spears in the 3rd round of the draft. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, you talked about Eckler not having a little bit of a decline. His rushing, I feel like the past couple of years he hasn't been that efficient at rushing, but passing he's definitely been more efficient. I feel like he's just been a decent runner on the ground. He never has been able to be the elite runner like Derrick Henry or Josh Jacobs last year.
He hasn't gotten less efficient in the running game. I just think he never had that much rushing volume. So obviously if you're playing a standard league, drop him down to low A tier probably. But in the PPR, even though he's not going to rush that much, it doesn't matter. He makes up for that in the receiving game. In the A tier, we got 3 guys. We got Saquon, Nick Chubb, and Bijan Robinson. So I really think Saquon and Chubb are both very solid options after Eckler and CMC. I'm not a Bijan guy this year. I know everybody's super high on him. I'm not behind that.
So I like Bijan a little bit more than Alec. Obviously he got drafted 8th overall by the Falcons, and he's going to obviously be the RB1. He's going to be taking I mean, as the season goes on, he's going to be increasing his touches, but he's still going to be the focal point of that offense, I think, with Drake London. I think those two are going to be the duo there. No disrespect to Kyle Pitts, but I don't know if I see it.
You're
I don't
a Kyle
know if
Pitts hater, dude.
What? No, I don't see three people, especially with their run-heavy offense there. Bijan's going to thrive. It's just a great situation for him there in Atlanta, because Atlanta they were like one of the
They were
probably the most run-heavy
yeah,
offense last year.
They had
so.
the
And
highest
now when
rushing
you add
percentage.
Bijan, the best prospects, and Saquon Barkley, I mean, I don't know how that can't work.
Yeah, I do love the talent, love the player. Obviously, the situation at first glance is great because it's the run heaviest offense in the NFL. At least last year it was, and last year they were running with Tyler Algier and Cordell Patterson. So
Don't forget my boy Caleb Huntley either.
okay. But Algier turned in a 1,000-yard rushing season as a 6th-round pick in last year's draft as a rookie in that offense. So obviously the upside is sky high. I have Bijan at RB7. I just prefer other guys like Pollard, Jacobs. I think those are more safe options, honestly, in this lower first round. Well, those guys you're drafting in the second round. But Bijan going as a late first-round pick, I think that's way too high for him. I just look at what the Falcons have done with Drake London and Kyle Pitts. They draft these super talented skill players very early in the draft, and I'm just nervous they're going to waste Bijan's talent, at least in the first year, and they're not going to just give him the ball every single play like we're expecting him to. Obviously, he's a great receiver too, so that'll help him out in PPR, but obviously he can be a guy that can go out and get 20 carries, 5 catches a game. I think more realistically to start off here, he's going to be more like a 15-carry guy, 3 catches a game, which is still great production, but I'm just a little nervous, especially with Pitts as like greatest tight end prospect too. Since then, we were saying this about Pitts, even though the rule is don't draft rookie tight ends. And he didn't turn out because this Falcons offense just.
So you think the Falcons will kind of shy away from their run-heavy offense, or do you think they'll keep the run-heavy offense?
I think they'll keep the run-heavy offense.
Okay, so
I think
that means
Algier still has a role. Patterson does have a little role as well.
Patterson will not have a role.
A little
He's
bit.
like 35. He's like 32.
He's 31.
Okay, still whatever. Probably heading in his 32-year-old season, and I bet he'll probably not. They won't use Patterson anymore, but I don't know how you can't use a prospect like Saquon to give him 20 and 5 a game.
I agree, but we've been saying this about Pitts and London too, and the Falcons just haven't done that. I think the Falcons are a quarterback away from being a great
Drake London
team.
did not have a bad rookie season. He had an all right rookie season.
We'll see with Ritter and how his offense performs, and if they do decide to lean on Bijan, because I think he'll be easily the most productive and efficient back in this backfield. So they're going to have to lean on him. I just think Falcons do like Algier and Patterson. So it's just a lot of question marks in this Falcons offense. I'm just a little nervous in the end of the first round.
All right, so next up here we have the B tier of running backs. First up, Pollard, Jacobs, and then Henry. So you want to head into Pollard here for a little bit?
Sure, yeah. Obviously, we expected the Cowboys to sign either Dalvin Cook or Leonard Fournette or Kareem Hunt or Zeke. Bring Zeke back, that would have been cool, but they didn't. And while Mike McCarthy says he wants this offense to be more run-heavy than it was last year, so he can give his defense a rest, all that stuff with Kellen Moore, that drama, but they didn't bring in a extra back. They did draft Deuce Vaughn, but obviously he's a special type of player, being like 5'5", so Pollard is the guy here. Obviously, he's been super efficient, even with Zeke. He's always been a great receiver, too. He just averaged 13 rushing attempts last year. So let's see if he can handle that big workload.
Mm-hmm.
He's a smaller back. I think the Cowboys will lean on him a lot, though. They don't have many more options. I think he could be the RB1 in fantasy. It's just you don't really know with him. All these other guys in this range are proven, exception with Bijan, but let's see if his efficiency can carry on with all this volume he's going to get.
Yeah, I love drafting Pollard right now at ADP where he is. He finished RB8 in basically a split backfield last year with Zeke. He got the more favorable touches, but still, like Alex said, averaged 13 carries a game. Still finished RB8. Alex said efficient running back, and he's going to be taking, if they don't sign another running back, he's going to be taking most of those away from Zeke.
Yeah, we've been
into
saying
the
all
goal
off
line
season.
now too.
Yeah, like, well, yeah, it's just hard to see that guy as being used in the goal line too. It's just an awkward situation where we've been saying all off season they will sign a guy, but if they don't, we'll move him up.
Yeah.
So
If they don't sign a guy, he's in the elite RB category.
so
for
we
sure.
probably should start moving up a little bit, maybe into that bottom of that tier that we have Saquon, Chubb, and Bijan. But right now, we still think they could sign a running back, Kareem or Leonard Fournette. But we do expect the Colts to possibly sign someone too if JT's going to be out this long. Rest in peace, my Jonathan Taylor shares. We'll talk about him later. But obviously, we moved him down as well. But Pollard will probably bump him up a little bit. Heavily target this guy. For the C tier, we got Mixon, Najee Harris, Aaron Jones, Ramondre Stevenson, and Travis Etienne. Let's talk about Aaron Jones quick. Jack, what do you got?
So Aaron Jones here, he's like one of the few guys I like drafting in this early mid-round running back area here. He's has great receiving upside. I think this year with Jordan Love in at QB, there's going to be a lot of checkdowns because Jordan Love doesn't have that experience, and I'm not sure how great he can throw the deep ball. So he's going to be checking down Aaron Jones a lot. And also, Green Bay probably will be run heavy too with
They'll for
Dylan,
sure be run heavy.
Dylan and Jones there. Both
I mean, they
getting
were with
usage,
Aaron Rodgers, and now without Aaron Rodgers, you're not going to lean that heavily on Jordan Love. So
especially in going into his first.
I do like
first
AJ
year,
Dillon a lot too.
Yeah, and yeah, he's 28 years old, but he's not that type of running back that was used as a bell cow. When he was 24 and 25, he's always kind of split. With his early years, he was Jamal Williams was there in Green Bay, and then recently it's been AJ Dillon. So I just don't see the 28-year-old affecting him too much. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't remember, No More Parties on Twitter. He was like, he looked into this research of when running backs will decline, and he figured out it's mostly around like 28 season. But he said with Aaron Jones, the efficiency didn't drop off at all from, well, it might have just a tiny bit, but you don't see that drop off in efficiency last year that you almost always see before a running back will drop off. So Aaron Jones hasn't had that many career touches compared to a guy like Derrick Henry or CMC, I guess. But I think he'll continue to be a big part of this offense in Green Bay, and they'll rely heavily on him and Dillon. He is the more receiving back out of those two, and they've obviously lent on him a lot more, and he's more upside play and floor. So I really like him in this range over guys like Najee, Etienne. We both like him a lot.
Yep. So at the back of this tier, we have Ramondre. I mean, it's kind of sad to hear. Not sad, but we kind of saw it coming where they were going to sign another running back, and they signed Zeke. But honestly, Zeke is probably one of the better signings for Ramondre because it won't take as much away from him.
I mean, like, Fournette would have been better for Ramondre, but
I feel like Fournette would have took a little bit more receiving. Zeke is probably it sounds like Zeke's just gonna be more of the short yardage,
yeah,
maybe
I have
goal
heard
line.
a few reports that Zeke is dominating the goal line, but also that they're filtering him in a little bit as a receiver. I don't know why you do that with Ramondre, but obviously it's the Patriots. We know they love to use a committee historically, so it's makes me a little nervous about Ramondre.
Yeah, I feel like they're just saying that because he's a great pass blocker. I feel like they're just gonna have him to just pass block instead of actually running routes.
Yeah.
But I did draft Ramondre, so I can't really say too much bad about it. I still like him even with Zeke there. I still think he'll be a top 15 running back, and the Patriots are gonna be run heavy. I mean, they can't be throwing the ball that much as Mac Jones and those. I don't even know their receivers, honestly. Thornton and Juju, and that's all I know. But yeah, they're gonna be run heavy. I mean, I still see Mac Jones dumping the ball off to Ramondre a lot, just like last year, and they're run heavy, and yeah, that's why I still like Ramondre around this.
Yeah, Ramondre
late. Obviously,
he was better when Damien Harris was out, but even with Damien Harris in, he was a pretty quality RB2. Obviously he was drafted in the 4th or 5th round, so obviously he never had that like high college pedigree as some of these other top end options, but Patriots really like him. He's proved himself. I think if you can get him, Jack just got him in a recent draft we did at pick 50, I believe. If you can get him that late as a lower end RB2 in terms of the draft board, that's great value for Ramondre. Heading down to the D tier, starts off with Jahmyr Gibbs, Alexander Madison, James Conner, Jonathan Taylor, we moved down to here. Brees Hall and Miles Sanders.
Mhm.
Let's talk about Gibbs first. Jack really likes Gibbs. I do
Yeah,
not.
The reason I love him, we've talked about him already, but drafted 12th overall, usually RBs that get drafted at that high of a capital will get used in their rookie year a lot. And I love the Lions offense. They're going to support, for sure, at least one good running back, maybe two, even with Dave Montgomery there. And he's just a very explosive receiving back. And there's no world that he doesn't at least take what Swift had last year, especially in the first 2 games that Swift had. Swift last year, I think, was averaging about a little over 20 points a game before he got hurt. And I just see Gibbs definitely has that type of explosiveness to be able to put up those numbers still. And I just see the ceiling's very high for Gibbs, even with Montgomery there taking some.
Yeah, I agree that the upside is massive here. Super talented. I feel like I've been saying this a lot. Like, the Lions, of course, they run the ball a ton. They're the number 1 fantasy backfield for running backs. They replace Jamal Williams with David Montgomery and Swift with Gibbs. So I think they really like Montgomery. Dan Campbell said Montgomery's that guy who can have 20-plus carries a game. Like, obviously, he wasn't that great on the Bears. Now he heads over to this great offensive line. I think Montgomery will be used mostly in the red zone and short yardage work, but he can also catch passes very well as a third down back. But obviously, they're going to use Gibbs. They drafted him this high for a reason. I just think people are saying you have a season like Kamara had in Kamara's rookie year, where he didn't necessarily have that many touches in the rush game at least, but made up for that in receptions and touchdowns. I just don't think the touchdowns are going to be there. That's why you're drafting him right now. You're kind of betting on that touchdowns being there when they have Montgomery there. Jamal Williams just had 17 touchdowns, led the league. So I think you can't really just bet on touchdowns with Gibbs here, because that's how Kamara got his rookie year production that high, was based off receptions, touchdowns. Yeah. Gibbs will get the receptions. I just don't know if the touchdowns will be there.
Kamara, though, heading into his rookie year, he had Mark Ingram there, didn't he?
Yeah, just like Montgomery.
Yeah, so I'm saying, like, that could easily happen too. So that's why people are comparing them like that. I mean,
I know, but Kamara.
I think Montgomery and Ingram are probably pretty similar players too.
Yeah, if you're chasing that upside here, he's obviously got the talent, but I think his floor is also really low. James Conner in the middle of this tier. He's a guy I really like. Don't like him as much now that they waive Colt McCoy and Kyler Murray is on the PUP. We expect him to be on the PUP, but Kyler Murray now isn't expected to be back till mid to late in the season.
Yeah,
I don't even know their quarterbacks.
I haven't even heard a timeline from Kyler Murray yet. Yeah. It definitely scares you if you drafted Marquise Brown, a little bit James Conner too.
They will lean on the run game more with Conner then. The offense is going to be worse as a whole, so it's tough to see Conner getting those touchdowns. But obviously, when Conner's been given the opportunity, he's been great. He finished last year with 8 consecutive top 20 weeks. He's been top 10 in points per game each of the last 2 seasons. And the games that Colt McCoy played last year, he did have 20 points per game. But now McCoy's out. I wouldn't say their next quarterback option is that much worse than Colt McCoy, but the Cardinals' offense will be a lot worse than it was last year, for sure.
It kind of looks like they're tanking with trading away good players on their team for not that much. And also, usually when teams tank, they like to run the ball a lot. So that probably will end up helping Conner too.
Yeah, but the game script is going to be they're going to have to throw the ball so much. It's just going to be
if they're
terrible,
tanking, they're not even going to try. They're not even going to try to like win. After Conner here, we have Jonathan Taylor. Alec, I know you drafted Taylor this year in our league. I know you're kind of very sad about that. What are your thoughts on this?
So I traded my second and third round picks for the guy who had the number 1 overall pick slot, second and third round picks. So I basically took 2 picks in the middle and then gave him the early second round pick and the late third round pick. And I grabbed Jonathan Taylor at this 2-3 turn. It's tough to see them not trade him. He really wanted to go to Dolphins, really pushing for it. I just heard a report that the Colts were kind of throwing in some really weird offers. Like, they tried to get Waddle out of the deal for that. So the team couldn't find what they thought would be a fair deal. So he stays with the Colts. He misses the first 4 weeks at least. They put him on the PUP. So I don't know if he'll even come back week 5. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's tough. That I literally just drafted
Yeah.
him here.
So where do you think he is now? Where do we have him at? Like about at the
We have
end
him
of
at like 18.
yeah, he's like the end of our D tier here. Yeah, he's after guys like Gibbs, Madison, Connor, around Brees Hall-ish,
Yeah.
Miles Sanders. Which that's a big drop off for missing 4 games, but
So yeah, it just makes it a lot harder to draft JT now. If he falls really, really far, like people are very scared, you could take him with a later pick as a RB 2 to 3, I'd say.
we know his talent. Next up here, we got E tier. Rashad White, Javonte Williams, Cam Akers, Alvin Kamara, Damian Pierce, and David Montgomery. So looking here at Cam Akers, I think he's a very interesting player because of the 2022 season. He had that god-awful start at the start of the season, missed a couple games. Was that because of injury or was he just out?
Yeah, he was hurt.
Okay, I thought I remember like McVay just like hated him or something like that.
He was recovering from his Achilles, I want to say. It might have been ACL, don't remember. But he had a very rough start after they kind of.
Yeah.
He came back a lot earlier than expected, and then he had a very rough start.
The whole Rams team was just terrible last year, most of the year.
It was hard with injuries.
But just taking a look at the end of the year, the final 6 weeks specifically for Cam Akers, finishes the RB6, looked very good as a runner, took 70% of the snaps, and his target share was the highest at any point of his career so far at 8%. So it seems like hopefully now he's even more fresh coming off the 2 years now of Achilles injury. So hopefully he's not dealing with any other lingering injuries. And this offense basically only has Cup. It's basically Cup. So if Akers can kind of step into the second, the second option, the second best weapon on the offense, I think he will have a very productive fantasy season.
There aren't really any other running backs that the Rams have that they can use besides Akers. They really like Akers now. I think he could be a 3-down back for them. It's just tough. It's kind of like a Cardinals situation. The Rams offense will be a lot better than the Cardinals, but Rams offense obviously isn't going to be great. But Akers is a pure volume play here. Like Jack was saying last year how he bounced back. He also did that the year before that, how he ended off the final few weeks in the playoffs, the NFL playoffs. He was averaging like 25 touches a game, over 100 yards. He's ridiculous. It's kind of weird that happened again last year after they pushed for him to come back, and he was not productive or efficient when he came back right away. He finished the year very strongly. Hopefully he can carry that into this year. I like him in this range with Kamara, Javonte. Solid pick. Last tier here, F tier, we start off with James Cook. Then we got Walker, Dobbins, Isaiah Pacheco. With Walker, it's a guy I do not like drafting. I think both of us have him a lot lower than his ADP.
Yeah.
But they draft Zach Charbonnet second round. I really like him as a pass catcher. Draft JSN, another weapon in the Seattle offense. They want to let Geno throw, of course, with these 3 great, probably the best 3 wide receiver core in the league here. And last year, Walker had 1.8 catches a game, and there was no one behind him. It was like DJ Dallas as the RB2 there. Obviously, he had a ton of rushing work, but he's in PPR, he's not a receiver at all, especially with Charbonnet. I could see him maybe getting a catch a game. So
I also saw something about like extremely high percent of his fantasy points last year were off like breakout runs, which are not sustainable at all. Players can't keep that up.
I'd say he's super talented, so you can expect him to have those breakaway runs every once in a while, but
yeah, I'm just saying a lot of his points came off of that, which it's hard to just ignore that. It's hard to ignore that.
Yeah,
take a look
he's been dealing with
but
some injuries this offseason. Just came back. With Walker, just at this range, you have to be drafting him. It's not worth it compared to the guys around him. I like the other guys like Connor, ETN, even Miles Sanders too. We like a bunch of these guys above him. Don't be drafting Kenneth Walker unless you're in a non-PPR league. Then bump him up, of course, but can't be drafting Walker.
Also, with the addition of JSN, I just see there's no way this offense cannot be pass heavy. Geno Smith here. They're not going to be grinding out games on the ground, which would help Walker, but I don't see him getting enough volume for just being a pure rusher there in Seattle.
Yeah, for sure.
So right after Kenneth Walker here, we have J.K. Dobbins. J.K. Dobbins has only played 23 games in the past 3 seasons. This is his contract year, and obviously has not got a contract yet. And
He's got a lot to prove
Yeah.
since
Yeah.
he hasn't played a lot of football. Obviously, when he's played, he's been very, very efficient. I want to say over 5 yards per carry.
5.7 yards per carry is a career. Yeah, that's pretty impressive. I mean, yeah, he's at prime running back age. He's like 25, 24, 25, somewhere around there. But kind of diving a little bit deeper into it. Well, not even deeper into it, but just kind of like looking at their team. Lamar Jackson at quarterback. Lamar loves to rush. He's going to be taking a lot of the rushing stuff away from J.K. Dobbins, especially around the goal line.
Will not be getting receptions.
Yeah, also, I didn't even bring up that yet. J.K. Dobbins does not catch the ball in the backfield at all. I don't think that's because he would be a bad pass catcher. I just think that's because Lamar their offense doesn't really check down the ball much. Yeah,
that's how the Ravens' offense works here.
Yeah, so it's just like there's just too many red flags here for Dobbins to be top 20 RB. So
obviously they love to run the ball, and he'll be if you do believe this offense with Todd Monken coming in as offensive coordinator being much improved from last year. Obviously they add in a bunch of pass catchers too, so I think they're gonna go to a little more pass heavy approach here. But Dobbins will be used at the goal line. It's just hard to.
And also, I mean, yeah, Dobbins is probably more of the most talented running. He's probably the most talented running back on the team. But
yeah, for sure,
the Ravens have been known to use a committee there too.
Yeah, there aren't that many other options there, so I think Dobbins will get most of the work in the run game here.
Yeah.
But no reception work here.
Especially since he hasn't even signed a contract yet.
Yeah.
But yeah,
he's super talented, so we'll see if things break right for him. That's gonna do it for our RB rankings and tier video. Let us know who we were right about, who we need to move up, move down, what we got wrong. But comment down below with your suggestions, your takes. Like, subscribe, join all the socials, join the Discord. Links are all in our bio. See you next week. Peace.
Peace.